Am I the a-hole for running away because my parents were late to my graduation over a Labubu? Okay, I know this sounds so ridiculous and insane. I, 18 female, am adopted and was adopted as a baby. My parents thought they couldn't have kids, even tried IVF. So when my sister, Princess, 10 female, was born, it was a miracle. Everything changed. Princess was spoiled and clearly the favorite. She never got in trouble, was always right, got whatever she wanted and acted however she wanted. My parents didn't treat me badly though, but if I got one toy, Princess got 5. It sucked, I was jealous, and I got in trouble for it. Princess got worse around age 6 when she realized how much she could get away with. She broke my things, hurt others, stole, and hated when anyone else had attention. I became a target. Luckily, I had friends, school, and relatives for support, though it wasn't the worst. I did great in school and joined clubs and sports just to stay out of the house. During summer, I worked or interned just to avoid her. Now I have a car and a boyfriend since sophomore year. I stay with him a lot and his family loves me, so I'm barely home, maybe 24 hours at most weekly. Damn, that is a crazy high school experience. Kathy would have never let me do that shit. My parents didn't care and this was my normal, so I stopped caring too. Anyway, graduation was last month, one of the few things I asked my parents to come to. I was excited. They seemed excited, and some relatives came too. But Princess had to ruin it. See, her current obsession are these doll plush keychains called Labubus. She collects them, and that specific day, she found this super rare one for sale in our city. Now, instead of contacting the seller and buying it the next day, my parents went to go get it and spent $350. In parentheses, my grad gift was $150. Then they showed up so late, our caps had already been tossed. I was hurt. After graduation, I ignored them and went home with my boyfriend. I basically moved in with him at this point, since anytime I went back home, it was to get my things to go back. My parents called, texted, apologized, even came over and begged me to forgive them. Worst part of it all, they think it's the money and sent me another $100. I refused to talk to them. Now it's serious as they're threatening to report me as missing / a runaway and contact my future college if I don't go back home. I feel justified in my actions and I don't think that it's that serious, but am I the a-hole? I mean, is there anything that reporting them as missing / runaway or contacting the future college would do? I mean, OP is 18. Legally, they can do whatever they want, right? So what are they gonna do? File a missing persons report and then you can just call them and be like, oh, I'm not missing. My parents are just fucking crazy. Y'all are good. And then what are they gonna do about the future college? Like, they're gonna contact the future college and be like, my daughter won't come home. They're gonna be like, that's crazy. That has nothing to do with us. Unless they're gonna try to like rescind OP from the college. But at that point, you could just call them ahead of time and be like, hey, my parents are being fucking crazy right now. Please ignore them. I don't know, y'all. I'm a big confrontation guy. I think OP needs to tell these parents straight. Like, y'all fucking sucked as parents. Princess is gonna turn out like a fucking piece of shit. And that's because you guys treat her the way that you treat her. And you guys treated me poorly, which is why I haven't been living at your house for the last 2 years. And that's also fucking crazy that you would let that happen. I don't think any parent should let their minor child be living with their boyfriend and his parents. I don't think there's ever a fantastic reason for that if you live with a family that can take care of you. That to me is neglect. I think OP should confront them, but more on like a, hey, you're getting cut off and this is why. I don't see the point of Labubus at all. PB, it's very similar to like Pokemon cards. People just assign a value to it in their head and then they just run with it. It's not running away, especially when they clearly know where OP is. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I think OP should just get ahead of them and just call the police station and be like, hey, like, fuck them. You know? Am I the a-hole for refusing to cut off my hair because my 7-year-old niece has cancer? I'm 17 male. Unfortunately, about 6 weeks ago, my niece got diagnosed with ALL. Considering she has pretty much had health issues since birth, words cannot describe how bad I feel for my aunt, uncle, cousin, and especially my niece. It basically broke their family apart, and even though I had never been that close with them, I really tried to emotionally support them, especially my cousin, to really let him know that I'm there for him and that he can tell me whatever is going on inside his mind at any time, anywhere, which he has already done a couple of times. Now I'll get to the point. Last week, due to the results of chemo, my niece's beautiful long blonde hair started to fall off, which they immediately shaved down. I'm not native English. Sorry if I make this sound weird, but the next day, a group chat including the entire family was created where my aunt announced it would be wholesome if everyone shaved their hair off as well to show their support, including a picture where the 4 of them all smile without any hair on their head. As soon as I saw this, I thought it was wholesome, but doubted anyone else would do it. 2 hours later, I arrive home, so to to see both my sister and mother bald, followed by my other cousin and grandma. The next day when I woke up and entered the living room, my mom asked, "When are you ready to do it?" while holding an electric hair trimmer. I originally thought it was something to decide on your own, but since everyone else is doing it, I'm kind of being pushed into a corner. I really don't want to sound egotistic, but I'm a guy with long hair, which over the years has basically become my personality. It's pretty much the only thing about myself I love, and I really don't think I want to shave it off. This is the part here that's getting me. I have never been that close with them. Y'all, don't get me wrong. One of my sisters or one of my family members gets cancer, I'm shaving my head immediately in solidarity. Anything outside of that, I don't think I'd do it, chat. Call me egotistical, call me whatever. I love my hair, bro. When I do a charity stream, I'm thinking of like shaving my head for like $20,000. That's the value I put on my hair. And I think it's just kind of rude to like not respect that. Like, I understand being like, hey, if you want to do this, it'll make her day, but there shouldn't be any pressure. Like, cause that defeats the entire purpose, you know? Like, if you have to basically force somebody to shave their head to like support someone in the family who has cancer, are they really actually supporting them? Not really. Yes, if I shave it, my niece would be shocked that her long-haired cousin finally shaved his hair off in order to support her. But if I have to keep things real, I might sound extremely rude here, but my aunt made a video showing my niece's reaction to my mom and sister shaving their heads off, and she did not even seem to slightly care about it. Video went like this. Aunt trying to show the picture to my niece, who is watching a cartoon. She has to tap her maybe 4 times to get her attention, and when she looks, she just stares at it, says, "Wow," and continues watching her cartoon. What is that saying? Misery loves company? I think it might be that, chat. High key, y'all. I think that's what this is. I think it's like, oh shit, well, we did this and got very little reaction from it. Now we need everybody in this group. I noticed after this video, my mom started to kind of become pushy towards me shaving my hair to show my support. Again, this might sound rude, but in other words, she wants to drag me down into the pit with her. No, bro, I think you're cooking. I think that's exactly what's going on here. This morning, I got a text from my aunt where she said it would be really nice if I shaved my head as well in order to show my emotional support towards my niece. If we have to keep things real, shaving my head would basically change nothing in the entire situation, but I can't just say no, can I? I seriously really don't know what to do. If my aunt would have shown a little more appreciation to my sister and my mom, I would have probably considered it. But considering she did not even reply to the pictures and just immediately showed them to my niece, as if you have to do it, I don't think I'm willing to do it. Don't get me wrong, I really love my niece, and even though I'm not that close with her, I always really cared about her and made sure she always felt comfortable with me. And I have a lot of fun memories with her when she was a little girl. It's just that when they moved a couple towns away, we started seeing them less and less. But really, what do? I'm almost getting threatened to cut my hair by 3 people. And if I do decide to do it, what if no appreciation is shown? Yes, I would have done it to show support from my side, but if it's nowhere to be appreciated, then what's the point? I don't necessarily agree with you should only do stuff if it's praised, but I also think it shouldn't be an expectation and it shouldn't be pressured. Like, shaving your head is a big ask, especially for somebody who like has been growing out their hair for a long time and it's like kind of part of their identity. Like, that's how I look at if I shaved my head. Like, y'all have gotten to know the middle part with the fucking mullet in the back. I like it. It makes me feel confident. It makes me feel good. If I shaved my head, I'm not gonna lie, I would not feel confident all the time. Beans up there would fucking probably be like, who is this man? I get the show of support, but like, I just feel like there's other ways you can support without shaving your head, and it's very unfair to like try to pressure someone into shaving their head. Me personally, the girl seems too young to understand the sentiment. There's really no point. I don't think you should do it for the sentiment necessarily. If my sister or my parent got cancer and they had to like shave their head and it was a big deal, I would just do it in solidarity with them, whether they appreciated it or not. If they appreciate it, great, but it should just be like, hey, I'm in this with you. I just feel like the connection isn't there to be like, I'm in this with you. I think it's a tall ask for a 17-year-old who's in high school just trying to fit in, you know, asking them to shave their head. I don't think any high schooler would be wild about that. Feels so performative, low-key. Exactly. Yeah, I'd support the kid with games that she can take to the hospital. Way better. Ooh, get the kid a Switch. I remember Matt Pat's St. Jude stream saying that they were so helpful for kids going through chemo. That's actually really fucking smart. I like that, Mbem. Am I the a-hole for not telling my parents I got my tubes tied? So I, 27 female, gave birth to my 4th kid last month via C-section, and I got my tubes tied during it, which my husband, 27 male, is and was in support of. So we reach earlier yesterday when my dad and stepmom come around to meet the baby. The birth comes up and I mentioned I got my tubes tied so that me and my husband won't have to worry about any more kids coming along. But my parents are shocked, talking about how it's disgraceful that I didn't tell them sooner. And what if my husband wants more kids? I mean, respectfully, fuck your husband. Like, I'm sorry, dog, you want more kids, that's cool, but this is her body. It doesn't matter if the husband wants more kids. She chose the route of tying her tubes because she's like, I'm done. I'm the one who has to push them out of my vagine. I get the final say. That's how I believe it is. I tried to explain that neither of us wanted more kids, but my parents wouldn't hear it and left early. I didn't think it would be a big deal that I got them tied and that it wouldn't matter, but am I the a-hole? I mean, no, bro, fuck your parents. This is insane. The audacity to think, oh, hey, I should have a say on whether or not my child does something to their body that controls whether or not they can have kids or not. Like, shut the actual fuck up, bro. You got 4 grandkids. Stop being greedy ass bitches. What do you mean? Like 4 fucking crotch goblins isn't enough for y'all? You want her to be a baby making factory? That's insane. That's just dumb. There is one edit. I've only had a C-section with the last one. Also, I've realized the wording was off. I didn't actually say do it to my parents. It was just kind of inferred in the conversation. So I removed that part. I wasn't discussing my bedroom life with my parents. I think it's just like an older generation thing. Like my mom does this a little bit, pisses me off. I don't even have a girlfriend or anything. And my mom is like, I want grandkids. Where are my grandkids? I have one of those Aura frames where my family members can like put pictures on them. She's like, oh, look at all these pictures with your younger cousins. Wouldn't we look great as grandkids? I'm like, first off, I'm not even close to that. Second off, if I have kids, it's my decision and my wife's. That has nothing to do with you. You get grandkids if I say you get grandkids. None of this bullshit about these parents being like, you have to have kids so that I can be a grandparent. Bro, if you want another kid, go fucking adopt one. All right? If that's truly your desire and you want to take care of kids, go for it, bro. But do not put that shit on me. Am I the a-hole for telling a friend that a tattoo on her chest saying Forever Brian's is a deal breaker for most men, even though Brian has since passed away? I've got a friend named Ula that is relatively new, as I've only known her for 4 years. She has a tattoo on her chest just below her collarbone that says Forever Brian's. She got it when she was quite young, early 20s, about 15 years ago, when she was engaged to her first love, who unfortunately passed away due to cancer, is my understanding. I don't know the history beyond that it happened quite quickly, and she got the tattoo after he passed away. I've been watching her date for about 4 years now, and the tattoo has consistently been a sticking point for the 3 or 4 so guys that I've seen her with. Each one has said it differently, but they've all said that they'd like her to get it removed or that it makes them uncomfortable enough to leave the relationship when it got serious. Last night, Ula and my wife were having a girls' night together, and I was downstairs enjoying some Baldur's Gate 3 when they both came down and asked for a guy's opinion and harassed me until I put the controller down. I warned them repeatedly that if they asked me for a guy's opinion, that I would provide one, but it might be hurtful. So I asked the ladies if they remembered the movie Titanic. They both agreed. I asked them if they remembered what the core theme of the movie was. They both answered that it was a love story between Jack and Rose. So I told Ula, do you know who it wasn't a love story for? Rose's husband. Rose's husband married her, had children with her, stayed married to her for roughly 60 years and grew old together, overcame adversity, and successfully had a long life together. But Rose didn't think of her husband or those memories together when she died 60 years later. She thought of Jack. All of that living that Rose and her husband did together meant little because in the end, when she passed over, she went to her first love, Jack. Damn, I mean, spoilers to Titanic. I've actually never seen the movie. Sorry if the movie just got ruined for you. I guess it got ruined for me too, but I don't really care that much. I looked at Ula and said, that tattoo is written confirmation that they're not your forever person, which is fine when you're casually dating, but what you're indirectly asking for when things start to get serious is if they're willing to sign up to be your Rose's husband. I agreed that Brian had passed away over a decade ago. I agreed it wasn't fair. I agreed that they were stupidly competing with a dead person. I agreed that removing it won't change how she feels about Brian. My bottom line was this was a one guy's opinion on the matter, which obviously all of her previous boyfriends to some degree agree with me on, as each one had raised it as a serious issue to them. I wasn't trying to start a huge argument, but that's basically what happened, so I tried a different approach and told her, look, not trying to start shit, but everyone wants to find their forever person. What you're doing is basically telling these guys you've already found yours. And that's not changing. So they keep it casual for as long as they can. When you try to get serious, they leave to protect themselves because no one wants to be a placeholder. And it doesn't help how aggressively you defend it. Shortly after, she passed out on the couch, much to my relief. In hindsight, this should have been a conversation to have while sober. So, was I too harsh? Was I an asshole? Even the next morning, she was slowly crying and committing to removing it, which I told her to talk it out with more than just friends and maybe seek out a professional opinion before removing it. But I sure felt like a royal asshole. It really felt like there was no winning here. Just a lot of hurt feelings and distant tragedy. I mean, I don't think OP can be the a-hole for just speaking the truth. And honestly, y'all, he delivered it really kindly. It's not like he sat there and was like, oh yeah, you're unlovable because you permanently plastered that you're never gonna be anybody else's and that's why you're gonna be lonely forever. He was just like, hey, here's a very common movie that very accurately describes what these men would be signing up for and what your tattoo is reminding them of. Doesn't that sound like maybe something that won't be that appealing to other guys? I think that's fair. I'll throw myself in there, bro. If you have somebody that you were supposed to marry, but then couldn't because they like passed away or whatever, I think there needs to be a base level of respect for that person. That being said, I think constant reminders of them aren't great. Nobody likes to feel like a consolation prize. And it's different and intricate with each relationship on how you don't feel like a consolation prize, but I totally understand seeing a tattoo on somebody and always being reminded that you're kind of a consolation prize. Even if you're not, that's kind of what that tattoo is saying. Yeah, me personally, I'm going with not the a-hole. I'm a big fan of like speak your truth, but like if your truth keeps guys from getting into relationships with you, then I think it's worth it to evaluate, is my truth worth me not being able to move on with somebody else? The problem with the tattoos, any partner will always feel like they're competing with a ghost. Yeah, he'd be an asshole if he wasn't asked, but since he was, I don't think he is. That's a good point too. They asked him for his opinion and he just gave his opinion. Ashton is saying his analogy is wrong. I haven't seen Titanic, but the way he explained it makes sense to me, bro. When it comes to love, y'all, nobody wants to feel like second place. I don't think anybody in chat can realistically say, oh, if I knew that I was second place, if I was runner up to somebody else that they couldn't be with, whether it's because they died, whether it's because they just couldn't end up with that person, like nobody wants to be that person. I think that was a pretty good analogy, but that's the only way he thinks of it in his head and is kind of putting her in the box without truly knowing how she felt. I mean, it says Forever Brian's. Like, I think that says pretty adamantly how you feel. There's no misconception there. People marry widows all the time, widows that keep their old wedding rings on throughout their marriage. I just don't see how hugely different that is. I mean, I'm gonna be so real. If I married a widow and they kept their other wedding ring on, I don't think I'd like that. Listen, if you want to put up with that, that's fine. I'm sure there is someone out there who maybe wouldn't care that much about the Forever Brian's tattoo. And hey, if you can find that person, go for it. But I'd say more often than not, people are not going to be cool with that. If I was like really into a girl and then she had like forever some other dude, I would just be like, not my thing. I think memorial tattoos are sweet, but if it's a previous partner, I think it would be smarter to make it something ambiguous rather than his name. Yeah, that's true. But I also think once the cat's out of the bag there, I don't know. I guess it really would depend what it is. This is clearly a deal breaker for the kind of guy this girl keeps dating. That's a good point too, Bouncy Ball. I guess I'm just not understanding what the big deal is. People have exes. For some people, it's probably not a big deal, and that's fine. Like if you're in love with this person, I'm sure you could look over it. But like if you've been out on a couple of dates with this girl, she's kind of cool, she's asking for something serious, and you're like, okay, let's run through the list. And one of the lists is like she has a tattoo saying she's forever some other dude, whether he's alive or not. I can see how that's like not appealing. And it's like, that's fine. If you want to find someone that puts up with that, you're entitled to that. But I also think you can't be like, oh, whoa, this is so weird and so shocking. It's really not that shocking to me that people wouldn't be cash money about it. I think we're all pretty much on the same page though. OP is not the a-hole here. They asked for his opinion. He laid it out pretty well. It's more of like, do we think she should get tattoo removed or not? I don't know. I just think like, even if you are really still into somebody, there's ways to do that without tattooing it on you. I think that it's fair. I just think OP could have said it better. What else is he supposed to say there? If y'all are gonna be like, okay, he could have been way nicer, like what do you want him to say? To me, I don't think we can say, oh, OP could have handled this better. I think OP handled it perfectly. Am I the a-hole for telling my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law that she's the one who taught her son he could cheat and think he'd get away with it? About 3 weeks ago, I found out that my husband has been cheating on me. The day that I found out, I packed bags for me and the kids and left. I did not confront him about the cheating. I just let him know that our marriage was over, but that I hope to work with him on an amicable divorce and custody arrangements. Of course, he did all the cliche begging, crying, swearing he would change. It was a mistake and it meant nothing, blah, blah, blah. I just said that's nice. Well, let me know where to send the divorce papers. Cool story, bro. Send the Addy. He was shocked. He told me before that his dad cheated on his mom, but she was able to forgive him. He must have expected me to do the same. Since then, I've only communicated with him about the girls. He is running in circles trying to get me to react to anything else he says. I give him nothing. He has begged me to just talk to him. I said that there's nothing to talk about. My mother-in-law confronted me outside the gymnastics gym. I was going to hand the girls off to her so they could spend time with dad. Mother-in-law told me that she was very disappointed in the way that I'm handling all of this, that she expected more maturity from me, and that she hopes it doesn't impact the girls negatively long-term. Yeah, as if your son being a cheating little slut isn't going to negatively affect the girls long-term. Exhibit A, their parents having to get divorced. Like, what do you fucking mean? I let her say what she wanted. She has allowed her opinion, but she looked at me waiting for a response of some kind. So I asked her, why are you directing your anger at me when your son is the one who ended this marriage? She said that I'm the one who chose to end the marriage, not him, that he was willing to work on it and go above and beyond to prove that it was a mistake and all that nonsense. And how it was the most shocking how cold I've become, that I won't even talk to him. I said, well, what is there to say? He decided to end the marriage. The time to go to marriage counseling was before he did what he did. There's nothing left to salvage. He made the decision and now he lives with the consequences. She was getting herself all worked up and upset. Oh, boo-hoo. Don't you feel bad for tearing apart this family? Don't you want your daughters to grow up in a stable home? How could you walk away after all this time? She said she couldn't imagine breaking up her family over something like this. I said, well, maybe if you had your... I said, well, maybe if you had, your son wouldn't think he can cheat without consequences. You're the one who taught him this. What a great fucking response. Shout out OP. That's insane, bro. I am so glad that I don't have a mom like this. Like, if I were to ever cheat on my partner, Kathy would be beating my ass. And I would deserve it. Thank God Kathy isn't like this. Oh my God. She got that big shocked look on her face. Told me that I was being a needlessly cruel monster over all of this. And oh, boo fucking who, she's disappointed. Oh no, if it isn't the truth. Ah, needlessly cruel monster. You're the one blaming the victim here. You're the one berating and accosting her when you should be berating and accosting the stupid son that you raised. I'm not keeping the girls from him. I'm being helpful with those arrangements and I plan to be generous when it comes to splitting time. I have no interest in taking anything that wasn't mine when we entered our marriage, but somehow I'm the cruel monster. How? The how is that the mother-in-law is just fucking nuts. You're a cruel monster to somebody who doesn't know how to identify cruel monsters properly. Because if she did, the cruel monster here would be her son. But she refuses to A, hold her son accountable, and B, be a good role model to the son to show him that cheating is not okay. And I guess C, really leaning into that internal misogyny to still look at this situation, having been in the same shoes and go, oh, this is her fault. Are you fucking kidding me? What is wrong with you? There's nothing needlessly cruel that OP is doing. OP is just operating how anybody should operate when they get cheated on by their husband. If anything, she's being too nice. If anything, she should be trying to take more custody of these girls. When people can't handle the truth, suddenly others are the monsters. Exactly. Grandma's gonna try to teach them the same thing. I mean, luckily she hopefully won't have that much time, but yeah, I mean, those daughters need to grow up learning, hey, we broke up because your dad's a fucking cheater and I didn't stay with him because you shouldn't put up with that. Like, that's what you're teaching your daughters. You're not gonna teach them, hey, it's okay for any man to fucking not be able to keep it in his pants because he's a fucking loser and you should just stay with that. That's crazy. That's insane activity. Am I the a-hole for refusing to wake up my husband when my parents visited and kicking them out when they insisted? What a weird title. Husband and I have been married for 5 years now and we're both 29 years old. The last 3 weeks, due to a complete screw up in a department in the company my husband works for, it has been all hands on deck for my husband and his team to resolve the issues. My husband has been working 18 hours a day and even some days not even coming home, working throughout the entire night and into the next day. I don't know much about the issues exactly, but what I do know is that if they do not resolve the issues, it will be a $50 million loss for the company. The issues are not the result of my husband or anyone in his team, but they are the ones that have to fix the issues. I can see the exhaustion in my husband's face when he comes in at 2 to 3 in the morning when I'm awake and leaves at 7 again. I don't know how he is doing it and just keeps going, but I try my best to keep as much as possible off his plate at home until he can get the issues resolved. Before this, he has been nothing but supportive and helpful around the house. When he comes home, he eats, showers, and goes straight to bed. I found him some nights literally sleeping at the table while he was busy eating when I went down to check on him because he wasn't in bed yet and I had gotten woken up, or him passed out on the foot of the bed with the shower running and him still in his work clothes. 2 nights back, he got home at around midnight, which is late, but it was early from when he normally gets back, and I thought something bad happened because he looked like a ghost. But through his exhaustion, he gave me this massive smile and said, "They did it. And everything is done." He told me the boss gave them each a couple days off and he only needs to be back in the office next week, Tuesday. He ate dinner, took a shower, and got into bed. I got up the next morning around 9 and made breakfast. I thought about waking up my husband, but didn't and let him sleep. Around 12, my parents visited me. I normally work from home and they do visit from time to time, seeing as I'm 6 months pregnant as well. I greeted them and we sat down and had coffee. Around 30 minutes into their visit, they asked where my husband was because they saw his truck in the driveway. I told them he was still sleeping. My mother gave me a look and said, "It's unacceptable for my husband to be sleeping past 12, especially with a pregnant wife, and I should wake him up." I told them no, to leave it, and then explained the full situations of what happened the last 3 weeks to them. They didn't budge and insisted I wake my husband up. Apparently, it's not right for him to sleep in with a pregnant wife. It went as far as my mother standing up and saying if I wouldn't do it, then she will go and wake him up. I stood up and blocked my mother from going up the stairs and told my parents if they find it so wrong for my husband to get proper sleep after 3 weeks of barely any sleep, they should leave our house because I will not, and I refuse to let them wake him up as well. I told them I will let my husband sleep until he wakes up himself. I will not disturb him, and I will not allow anyone else to disturb him. Dude, what a great wife. Like, don't get me wrong. If you're pregnant, your husband should be helping you as much as possible. But homeboy is also trying to help pay the bills and had to do what he had to do at his job to make sure that the job didn't fall through. Like, it's literally one night. As long as OP, like, isn't dying, isn't bleeding, there's nothing going on, let homeboy sleep. I'm sure he will be a helpful husband after he recoups and becomes a normally functioning human being now that he has enough sleep. He'll probably be a much more supportive husband now that he has enough sleep. They asked if I'm kicking them out, and I said yes. If they can't respect my request to leave my husband alone and let him sleep, they are no longer welcome. Their whole visit lasted around an hour. Around 3 p.m., I got bombarded with texts from other family members berating me for kicking my parents out of our house. Even my sister and brother berating me for doing it, telling me I'm the a-hole for kicking them out, for just trying to help. Even after explaining the situation, some family members are still on my parents' side, saying I overreacted by kicking them out because they were only looking out for my safety, seeing as I'm pregnant. Okay, see, if they actually cared about OP's safety, they would have shut the fuck up, let the husband sleep, and just stayed to support their pregnant daughter. Listen, I understand that the intentions are good, but if OP is like, nah, bro, we're chilling, stop overreacting, it's just dumb. I think your family is just all out of whack. I don't know. I feel like if you're a whole ass adult, 29 years old, you're pregnant with a child, you just got to be good at being like, hey family, you can have your opinions, but shut the fuck up. I'm 29. I'm going to live my life how I want to. This is what is going on with me and my husband, and this is how we think this should go. Not your life, not your problem. I think that's the way to do it. Just be like, if you try to say anything else, I will ignore you. There is a quick little edit here. OP added, unfortunately, I have a family that is somewhat close and loves to talk. Secrets don't stay secret in this family for long, especially with my aunts and cousins that can't keep anything to themselves. And as soon as they know something, everyone else has to know it as well. Bit of extra information I see kept getting asked. This is my first child. She will also be the first grandchild and the first child born in the family in the last 20 years. If the husband didn't have a good excuse, then sure, get mad at him. Don't let him sleep in. But bro has a great excuse to be sleeping in. And it's not like OP's complaining about it. It's not like OP's like, oh my God, my life is so much harder because my husband won't wake up. Just seems like a non-issue that these parents are making an issue because they fucking feel like it. No, for real, if only there were 2 other people in the house with her to help her. Like, so stupid. It's so dumb. A lot of the comments are just OP being like, yeah, if there was an emergency, I'd wake up my husband and he'd have a great reaction to it. He would jump up and immediately take care of me. Like, it's just dumb. Like, don't get me wrong, I am on the wave of like, pamper the fuck out of your wife when she's pregnant. Make sure you're chipping in and helping out as much as possible. But like, every once in a while, there's gonna be certain circumstances where you just need to like take care of business, you know? Would I be the a-hole for remarrying my ex even though I'm going to die? I know this post is morbid and dark, so I apologize for that. I, 36 female, am close to dying. I have terminal cancer and I only have about a year or 2 left. I've accepted and made my peace with it, and I don't mind openly talking about it. I also have a less than common relationship. My current partner slash boyfriend, 38 male, is also my ex-husband. Me and him married right out of high school, stayed together through college, had 3 kids together, 12 male, 11 female, and 4 male. We divorced when our daughter was 3 because of his intense work schedule. It was a lot of heartbreak and pain, but at the time it felt right for both of us despite that. Okay, so they divorced when the son was 4 and the daughter was 3. Just trying to put the timeline together. 2 years after the divorce, I was first diagnosed with cancer, and he reduced his work hours so he could take more time with the kids. And it slowly shifted to him also taking care of me. And we rekindled our romance, but didn't get remarried. I got lucky the first time around and was declared cancer-free at 31. I had my youngest child at 32 and was re-diagnosed at 34. We tried treatments, but it's been recently declared terminal. Please don't feel sorry for me or throw me a pity party. I've gotten to live the life I wanted, and I'm okay with the fact that I'll most likely die before 40. The only thing that causes me any emotional pain is that I won't see my kids grow up and experience life milestones like graduating, getting married, and having kids. All right, I'm gonna keep going, but low-key, I like the ex-husband. Big W-wubby that she got diagnosed with cancer, and he stepped up not only for the kids, but also for OP. I'll say it, I think it's admirable. Long backstory, but here's the problem. My partner and I have discussed it, and we want to remarry each other. I want him to be listed as my husband in my obituary. I want him to be able to make medical decisions in case I'm unable to. This one is big for me because of my situation, and so that he can get survivor benefits when I pass. Yeah, I was just about to say that. Out of anything, the medical decisions is going to be really important, and if there are any benefits, that is also very important. My sister, 38 female, says that it's cruel to remarry him knowing I'm going to die soon, and that if I loved him, I wouldn't have divorced him in the first place, and that by remarrying him, I'm disrespecting the sanctity of marriage by doing it willy-nilly. Yo, guys, this might be so ridiculous, but fuck the sanctity of marriage. If you ain't religious, fuck that shit. At this point, marriage is just some legal thing so that the government can recognize you as two entities being paired together. If you're religious, fine, bro. Believe in that sanctity of marriage bullshit. But if you're not religious, fuck that shit. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. Your sky daddy will not give a fuck. He does not care. She also said I probably used my diagnosis the first time around to get his pity love, so he'd get back with me since it resolved the main issue from our divorce. All right, so like, why are we still in contact with this sister? What the fuck? What a fucking awful ass sister. Does the sister want to bang the husband or something? There is no need for this hostility towards your dying sibling. So Reddit, I was wondering if it's really bad for me to remarry my ex. I love this man. We both regretted our divorce and we are so grateful that life brought us back together. But now that I'm close to death, we want our love to be legally recognized. Bro, as long as the husband's fine with it, fuck your sister. If your husband feels like he's being pressured into doing so, then yeah, maybe you guys should not do that. But it sounds like homeboy's on the same page, and assuming that he is and he's completely fine with it and this is what he wants, go for it. Fuck your sister. If anything, go no contact with your sister so that she has major regrets when you die. That might have been an awful thing to say, but like I said, honestly, this sister's evil, bro. Give her something real to fucking cry about. I know people who've gotten remarried in situations like this so they can pass on military benefits. I also know married people in this situation get divorced to prevent the other from medical debt. Smart. I bet the sister's jealous because she probably won't get benefits when she passes. True. Am I the a-hole for asking my future in-laws for money? My fiance's parents are loaded. Old money loaded. They can afford what I'm asking, no problem. I make very good money at my job. I'm currently 27 and earn over $170,000 a year. Tim is a teacher. I'm guessing Tim is the fiance. He doesn't make as much, but he has a trust fund, so he works sort of as a public service. It's big in his family. Recently, I had a weird conversation with him and his folks. They think after the wedding, I should quit working and be a stay-at-home mom. I thought they were joking, and I kind of laughed. They are perfectly serious. They think it's emasculating that I earn more than Tim. Yo, then tell Tim to get his bread up. I don't know. It's super emasculating that you worked hard and got a job that pays you well. You know what you should do? Quit it, because my son is a bitch. I don't get that shit. Hey, maybe if Tim wasn't so much of a bitch, he wouldn't feel emasculated, which is also stupid. Girl, what are we doing with a man who goes, wee woo, you make more money than me. You know what you need to do? You need to stop pursuing everything that you love to do because my fragile ego, my fragile masculinity can't handle it. What a bitch move, bro. My fucking wife makes $170,000 a year. I'm fucking putting on the maid outfit, cooking, cleaning, everything. She tells me to jump, I say how high. And emasculating, bro. You're living the dream. You don't have to do shit. Over the course of my career, I will earn more than him, but his trust fund is low 7 figures. He could afford to pay me what I earn yearly, but he can't due to the stipulations of his trust. His mom, on the other hand, has lots of interest built up in her trust. So I offered a solution I thought was fair. They set up an unrecoverable trust for me. They must contribute my gross earnings yearly with bumps for anticipated raises and promotions. The deposits would be for the next 35 years. That way, I'm a stay-at-home mom, Tim is a breadwinner, and I'm protected in case of a divorce. They went fucking nuts. Apparently, I'm ridiculous for thinking they will give me money. I offered a compromise. I signed a prenup where I'm entitled to half of Tim's trust in the case of divorce if I give up my career. Also not acceptable to them. I'm kind of at a loss. Do they honestly think I would give up my career with zero safety net? My mom says I'm being kind of rude putting everything in such stark monetary terms. I think I'm being reasonable. What do you think? I think you need to leave. Like, I have said this till the end of time. People get fucking mad at me for this. I don't understand why. I think it's stupid not to think like this. When you marry someone, you're not just marrying them, you're marrying their family. You are marrying into the shit show or the absolute beautiful unit that is their family. If they're pulling this shit already and y'all are just engaged, can you imagine the shit they're gonna pull while you're married? Nah, bro, fuck that shit. I think OP should get out of there. You don't want to be with a fragile masculinity boy and his stupid family. The only redemption that the fiance would have in my eyes is if he stood up to the parents and he's like, no, that's not how I feel about it. Shut the fuck up, mom and dad. But I didn't see any of that. He's probably like, yeah, I don't like that you make more money than me. So like, fuck this guy. Everything OP is saying is correct. If she does give in and for some reason there is a divorce, OP is stuck dead in the water. Nah, dude. There are just way better people out there. You know what I'm saying, chat? Yeah, I don't know, Razzle Dazzle. Good disposable income isn't worth putting up with this shitty family. Because they're just gonna keep saying this. If they have kids, they're gonna be like, oh, well, now you have to be a stay-at-home mom. Even though our son's a bum and doesn't actually earn any real money or work hard at all, you need to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, do you really want that for the rest of your life? Me personally? No, I don't. And I don't want a partner that isn't going to tell them, hey, shut the fuck up. That's not how this rolls. I wonder what her husband's opinion to this. I feel like if there wasn't an adamant, my fiance is very much against it, I highly doubt he's arguing. Yeah. I don't understand why she's with him either. The answer is not the a-hole. Get out while you still can. Because the second y'all are married, you are going to hate his family and maybe him. Am I the a-hole for saying it's not my problem if my ex and her husband can't afford their kids? Oh God, that sounds messy. I, 30 male, was married to Marin, 30 female, and we have a son together who's now 8. When Marin was pregnant, I found out she was cheating on me with James, 33 male. James had a girlfriend who was pregnant at the same time. When my son was born, we needed a DNA test to find out if I was his father or James was. As Marin's husband, I was the legal father, and that made it easier when the DNA results showed he was actually mine, because she fought to name James his father. Wow. Things were toxic. James was there for everything in the later pregnancy and the birth, and Marin told me nothing. Her parents were the ones who gave me info on when my son was born so I could file with the courts for a DNA test and custody. And our son's birth was also when our divorce could proceed. What a goddamn shit show, chat. Oh my God. James's ex ended up giving him custody of their daughter, and so they had her full time and my son 50% of the time. And a year and a half later, they had a daughter together. At this point, they have James's daughter and 4 children together. And I won custody of my son 3.5 years ago because in order to force more money out of me, they wouldn't feed him enough and let him wear dirty old clothes. And I only paid child support because I earned more than Marin, but we had equal parenting time back then, so now Marin sees our son every other weekend. Bro, that's fucking terrifying. Oh my God, and these people have 4 other kids other than... No, wait. At this point, they have James's daughter and 4 children together. Holy fuck, so they have 5 kids other than OP's son? Oh, dear Lord. Someone call CPS. That needs to be a monthly call. That's insane that somebody won full custody over someone because they weren't feeding the child enough and letting him wear dirty clothes, but they didn't take custody away of the 5 other kids. Oh my God. My son's in therapy to help him with all the mess he's witnessed and been a part of in some way in his young life. Marin was also ordered to pay a small amount of child support, but she only paid a few times. She always uses the excuse that she can't afford it, and that might be true. I never push it because I can take care of my son without her. For the last 2-ish years, Marin has looked to me to buy extra school supplies and share them among the 2 school-aged kids. So her stepdaughter and first daughter with James. I've always ignored these requests and sent my son with supplies and donated a few to his class as requested. I have never bought a single thing for the other children in my ex's household. What do you mean by extra school supplies for the kids that you're responsible for? Like, that's insane. 2 weeks ago, my son had a small surgery and Marin showed up. Marin brought up the school supplies issue and asked me to please be decent about this and get some supplies for her girls because they couldn't afford them. She told me they struggle to support the kids they have as it is and their other kids suffer. Why the fuck did you pump out 4 of them then? Like, what the fuck is we doing? Oh, dear Lord, someone call CPS. I tried to move away from her, but she followed me to another table, so I told her I don't care if they can't afford their other kids. I told her that her other children are not my responsibility and she needs to figure something else out. I told her she already denied our kid food to try and get money out of me, and she lost most of her time with him as a result. And my priority was my kid, not the kids she keeps having. I told her I would not discuss it with her again, and I haven't, but she has sent many messages through the co-parenting app the courts have ordered us to use, where she calls me an asshole and not a good dad to our kid. I've never heard of these co-parenting apps. Is this like a communication app where like a social worker also has access to it? I've never actually heard about this. I mean, that's crazy, bro. I would just put her on blast. I would be like, yo, you need to stop fucking harassing me, or I'm gonna call CPS and tell them that you can't afford to have the kids that you decided to pump out. That's insane. Yeah, the co-parenting apps make it easier to document everything instead of texting or calling. That's crazy, man. My lawyer knows. He tells me to keep ignoring her, and for those who might wonder, this will not remove her visitation with him. It was difficult enough to get primary custody after her denying our son enough food to try and make me pay more. Unless my son is older and doesn't want to see her, or CPS removes the other kids, nothing will change RE visitation. Knowing all this, am I the a-hole? Absolutely not, dog. Listen, this might be so mean of me to say, but if I was OP, I would be calling CPS every week and just reporting her. Because there's no way she's taking adequate care of her kids if this is the type of shit that she's pulling. Like, OP should be doing that not only to get full custody of his kids, but also there's no way these kids aren't being neglected, bro. I am so scared for these kids. That is just disgusting behavior, man. Yeah, my opinion is that if your finances aren't straight, you shouldn't be having kids, but OP is not the a-hole. Listen, if you're gonna choose to pump out those suckers, you do so, but like, you can't woe is me if your finances aren't there, you know? And I think this is really common with people who have kids younger. They're just like, okay, like, I'm married, or I found the love of my life, it's time to pump out these suckers, and then they don't realize, oh shit, they're actually kind of expensive. And only getting more expensive, by the way. It is not getting cheaper to raise a family in America, and probably a lot of other places. What's crazy is her cheating on OP with her now husband and then asking this. Yeah, dude, catch me fucking dead putting up with this shit. I would just be bombarding. I'd be like calling CPS every week, just reporting to CPS. Because then OP can get full custody of their kid and move away. And then he doesn't even have to fucking deal with her. Am I the a-hole for expecting my ex-girlfriend to move out after she broke up with me, even though she has nowhere else to go? I, 27 male, have been with my girlfriend Megan, 26 female, for 4 years. And we've lived together for 2 of them. We live in a house I inherited from my grandmother. Megan quit her job a while ago to pursue her master's degree full-time since her bachelor's wasn't opening any doors. I've been supporting her financially and emotionally while she's been in school. To be clear, I never resented that. I wanted to support her goals and was proud she was moving forward in life. Her program is intense, and she's even taken summer courses. I work full-time and also take care of the house, which means some things slip through the cracks. I cook, clean, and try to keep things in decent shape. It's not perfect, but I genuinely don't think it's bad. I'd comfortably have friends over without worrying about the place looking or smelling off. I'm not an amazing chef, but I know my way around the kitchen. But yeah, they're mostly basic dinners. The past couple of months have been hard. Megan's stress levels have been through the roof and tensions between us have grown. She's been unhappy with how I clean or cook, saying I don't meet her standards. I get that she's overwhelmed, but I felt like nothing I did was ever enough. I still try to be patient and supportive, but things hit a boiling point and we had a big argument. I mean, that's crazy, bro. If he is supplying a place to live and doing all the chores to help support you get a master's degree, beggars cannot be choosers. That is insane. Megan broke up with me. It hurt, but I honestly think it was for the best. We were clearly not making each other happy anymore, so what was the point anymore? Here's the problem. Now that we're no longer together, I think it's fair for her to move out. She doesn't agree. She says she has nowhere else to go and that if she's forced to leave, she'll have to drop out of her program. Her mom and stepdad live the RV life and she doesn't have friends who can take her in. I mean, tough titties, girl. You broke up with him if it ain't the consequences of your own actions. And you broke up with him because you were upset about how he was supporting you. Like, what? Give that bitch the boot. She did receive a decent amount of money from her own grandmother when she passed, but she used most of it to cover her tuition. I know she wasn't blowing it. It really did go to school, but now she's tapped out and stuck. I get that this situation sucks and I don't want to see her crash and burn, but I also don't feel like I should have to keep living with someone who broke up with me. I've already given her 45 days to figure something out, even though legally I'm only required to give her 30. She's now trying to say she wants to work things out, but to me it feels more like panic and desperation than a genuine desire to fix the relationship. I don't hate her, but I don't think it's healthy for either of us to keep living together in this limbo. So am I the a-hole for expecting her to move out after she broke up with me? I mean, I don't think so. Listen, if you want to break up with a man who is supporting you, even if it's not to your standards, like, that's on you. You probably should have thought about all those things. I think it would be detrimental to OP's mental health if he let her live with him. And I think he's right. I don't think she wants to work things out to fix the relationship. She wants to work things out so she can keep living rent-free while she gets her master's degree. Honestly, y'all, it's like mean, but not OP's circus, not OP's monkeys anymore. She broke up with him. Cool, dude. Oh, you're gonna be homeless? Not my problem anymore. You wanna know why? Because you broke up with me. She fucked around and now she's finding out and she's upset about it. Sounds like her problem. I mean, that's just crazy to be living rent-free somewhere and being like, oh, this isn't up to my standards. Unless you guys are like married or something like that. If you ain't paying the rent and contributing to the house's cleanliness or upkeep, shut the fuck up. Ain't no way. If you got a mooching partner, let alone a mooching ex, I don't know who needs to hear this, but snip, snip, chop, chop, okay? It's 2025, chat. We don't fuck with that shit. Am I the a-hole for telling someone no woman would date her? I was at my friend's apartment with my boyfriend when her roommate came in, and my friend introduced us. The roommate said hi, and we were all chatting, and then she said that I was lucky I was gay because women don't date short guys. Oh no, am I catching strays today? Oh no. I responded that she was lucky she was straight because lesbians don't date women with atrocious personalities. I love the energy. We love standing up for somebody getting made fun of for being short. That being said, chat, I have some lesbian friends that have dated the most atrocious women. I'm sorry, that is not a factual statement. Like, not to throw strays at the lesbians out there. Shout out our lesbians. I get y'all. Women are way better than men. That being said, y'all be dating some atrocious women. The roommate went into her room. My friend said I went from 0 to 60 way too quick. It was awkward and my boyfriend and I left. I asked him if he thought I overreacted and he said no, that she shouldn't dish out what she can't take. He's my boyfriend though, and I want an unbiased perspective. Was I an asshole for saying that? You know, guys, I know I'm 7'6", but some people allegedly would say that I'm a short man. Allegedly, there's no facts or evidence at all that I may or may not be a short man. That being said, honestly, y'all, her stray was more mean than what OP said, in my opinion. Because you can just be like, oh, you have an atrocious personality. Like, you can change your personality. You know what you can't change? Your height. Believe me, y'all, as a non-short person, I'm sure the short community out there would not choose to be short if they could. That may come from personal feelings, but yeah, if anyone asks, I'm 7'6". No, bro, not the a-hole. Exactly what the boyfriend said too. You can't dish out what you can't take. If you're gonna talk shit about someone and then they talk shit back, that's honestly like not as cutting deep in my opinion. Bro, nut up or shut up. Perks of being a short dude, it's easy to find the tall women. Bro, I kind of like a tall girl. It's kind of like empowering. Like, tall dude gets a tall girl, sure, bro, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Short guy gets a tall girl. Wait a fucking minute. Like, Sarby disavowing the short community, not clickbait. Bro, I'm 7'6". I can't be a part of the short community. Duh. Am I the a-hole for skipping my brother's wedding because I wasn't invited to the engagement party? I, 28 male, have a twin brother. Growing up, we were inseparable, and until recently, I thought we were still very close. I was always more of a shy nerd, and he was an extrovert that played sports throughout our childhood and high school, but we spent almost all of our time together by choice. We went our separate ways when college came. He stayed local in Arizona, and I went to college in Portland. When I graduated, I stayed there because I fell in love with the city. My friends are here, my professional networks from internships were here, etc. But I always flew back home for the holidays, events, birthdays, etc. My brother announced on Instagram that he and his girlfriend of 3 years got engaged. I was incredibly happy for him and texted him congrats. He mentioned they were planning to have an engagement party in 6 to 8 weeks, and I told him to let me know so I can book a flight to come celebrate. I was never told a date. If I brought it up with him or anyone in my family, they change the subject or say it's still being planned and confirmed. After a few weeks, I texted my brother to ask about the date because it must be getting close and I don't want to pay for a last minute flight. No response. I asked my mom for details and she said, it's not really an engagement party, just a small dinner with family. There's no need to come down for it. I eventually found out that it was, in fact, a big party. They rented out an entire restaurant for 4 hours and there were about 80 guests. Families, friends, cousins, everyone was told I couldn't make it. This is just mad disrespectful. To basically be not invited to something, but then tell everybody that you just couldn't make it. That's some sketchy shit, not only on your brother's part, but on your family's part. My aunt, who was like a second mother to me, texted me that she was very disappointed that I couldn't make time to join. And I replied that I would have happily come, but I was not invited. Word spread quickly about my snub, and my parents and brother tried to say it was just a misunderstanding. Bro, that's when you send the screenshots, baby. If your family's gonna lie about something, bro, you better send all the receipts. Well, actually, they're just a bunch of assholes. That was almost over a year ago. Since then, I've tried to get to the bottom of why I wasn't invited. Over the course of months, it went from, it was just meant to be a small gathering, to, I don't know what happened, there must have been a miscommunication, to, it's just a party, it's no big deal. I asked my brother if he was mad at me. I thought maybe his fiance didn't like me. Even if she or he didn't want me there, why were my parents okay with this? This really wasn't like them. Christmas and Easter was awkward as hell because no one but me wanted to address the elephant in the room, and any conversation about anything was like small talk with strangers. When I visited in May for my sister's birthday, I left early after my sister said, "You moved so far away. It's like you're not really family anymore. You make everything feel so weird now." That's such a fucking terrible thing to say. That's just such a toxic way to look at and operate a family. Like, oh, hey, this person was independent enough to go to another state and build their own life for themselves and they're happy and you're gonna shit on them for it? Like, that's just a dog shit way to raise someone. Like, oh, no, you were supposed to stay here in your hometown where you grew up that you're probably sick of and see the same exact fucking people every day just so that we can feel more like a family. It's just such a dog shit way to operate as a family, and I'm sure that's the root of it. The sister was just the only one who had the balls to say it. 9 months ago, I got the save the date announcement, and 6 months ago, I got the invitation to the wedding. I wasn't asked to be in the wedding party, which is fine, and wasn't surprising at that point. My sister and younger brother were asked to be in the wedding party, so another snub. I also didn't get a +1 for my girlfriend I've been seeing for almost a year and a half. My sister, however, got a +1 for her friends with benefits. So I decided I wasn't welcome and I was probably only invited for optics and to play happy family. I didn't RSVP no since I knew that would cause a shit show. I just didn't go. The wedding was this past weekend. No one contacted me about missing the rehearsal dinner, so I guess even if I did go, I wasn't invited to that either or expected to be there. I started getting calls and texts about an hour before the ceremony asking where I was, if my flight was delayed, how far along I would be, etc., and I ignored them. They stopped for a while during the ceremony but started up again right after. I finally picked up my mom's call and she screamed, "Where the hell are you?" I replied, "In Portland, where you all prefer me to be." She said, "This is your brother's wedding. How could you embarrass us?" I answered, "It's just a party. It's no big deal, right?" Good clapback. We love that. It was probably the first time in my life my mother was speechless. After a few seconds of silence, I said, "Tell everyone I said hi," and I hung up. Now I'm getting calls and texts from everyone saying I was being petty and ruined the day. So am I the a-hole here? I feel like I'm just matching their energy and dropping the rope. Not a family worth booking a flight for, buying a wedding gift, expending time and energy for. Like, you're clearly not wanted. It's all for optics. They just want to look like the big happy family without being the big happy family. And clearly they harbor resentment for you in some way or another for something that they aren't even going to communicate to you either. Bro, fuck 'em. There was too much disrespect in that story not to hit the no contact button. No +1 for your long-term girlfriend. No wedding party invite. No invite to the engagement party. Nobody giving you a straight answer except for your shitty sister. That wasn't even really a straight answer. That was just kind of a stray from somebody who's not even really involved in the situation. I say cut your losses. That is not a family worth keeping around. Growing apart when someone moves far away is normal, but this is way more than that. Here's the thing, y'all. Like, me and all my siblings live in different parts of the country, but we're still really fucking close. It's just as simple as like not allowing the distance to hold up you guys being able to like connect with each other. It's really that easy. Like, if anything, y'all, it just makes us more excited when we are in the same area with each other. Because it's like, oh, back to old times. You can either whine about something that's probably inevitable. It's gonna happen. People are going to move away. Or you can just leave it at like a, hey, we'll call sometimes to catch up, keep in contact with each other. And then when we're back in the same town, we'll just pick up where we left off. Like, it's that easy. So there is an update to this post. Posted about a week after the original post. I thought it'd be 50-50, not the a-hole and you're the a-hole, because I know what I did was a bit petty. To the people who said you're the a-hole, I understand your reasons. Yes, it was cowardly to not RSVP to avoid drama, but looking back, I was in a headspace where I just caved to the guilt if I RSVP'd that I wasn't planning to attend. Also, a little part of me was hoping they'd realize I didn't RSVP, and they tell me they want me to come. But every day that passed between the RSVP date and the wedding, I got angrier and more hurt, and I wanted to make it clear in a big way that if they don't want me around, I don't have to be around. And I get that's an a-hole move. Okay, so like, bro didn't RSVP. Isn't there a cutoff date for that? Like, I don't understand why that's an a-hole move. I really don't. I think it's like, you didn't RSVP, the default is no, and your family should have reached out being like, hey bro, what the heck? We want you there. But they didn't do that. They waited till the last minute, which also makes me think they probably wanted that to be the case. They wanted it to be last minute. Oh no, where are you? Why didn't you make it? You're such a bad person for not making it. Courtesy is only owed to those who show courtesy back. And these people are not showing you courtesy. They're being fucking assholes. I had a long phone call with my aunt and cousin last night about the wedding drama. They have given me some more info, and our suspicions are a bit of a conjecture based on what we know and what we've heard, but here it goes. We really do think my mother felt I rejected them when I didn't move back after graduating. This is despite always coming home for my brothers and sisters' graduations, all birthdays, mine and immediate families, holidays, special events, etc. I practically visit on a monthly basis. But despite this, we think that she has some weird vendetta against me for splitting up her family and being an example to my siblings that they don't have to stay local. That is just such a bad way to parent your kids. Like what? Do you want him a fucking complete adult sucking from the teat of his mother because he never learned how to be independent? Is that really the type of child that you want? That sounds like failure to parent to me. If your kid feels like they need to stay close by mommy and daddy once they get into their mid-20s, you failed as a parent. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe you are a bad parent if that's how your kids turn up. That's so crazy. Like, that literally puts your child in a box that doesn't need to exist. You can be a family without all living in the same town as each other. Even worse, somehow visiting so often made my mother resentful because my aunt mentioned that my mother once told her a few years ago that I was flaunting my wealth by showing I could visit so often. Chat, God forbid your child be successful enough and financially stable enough to come and visit you. God forbid. No, that asshole is flaunting their wealth. Like, come on. I don't get that. Shouldn't that be like a bragging point to your kid? Like, oh, hey, my kid is so successful, they can travel here whenever they want. Like, that's cool. That's sick. That means you as a parent guided them properly, probably. I don't get it. Thanks to my senior year internship, I went immediately into a field where progression can be quick, and thanks to going back for a very specialized master's degree, I am in a very niche space within that field and was able to move up faster. I'm not bragging, it was just luck, connections, and a great mentor early on. People suggested my brother might be jealous. He does earn less, but as far as I know, he loves his job. It just doesn't have the same career progression. Honestly, his job is much more exciting than mine, and I'm sure it fulfills him a lot more. My job isn't terrible, it's just not one anyone wants to hear work stories about at a dinner party, LOL. I mean, I've never understood that. Like, why do you have to be competitive with your siblings? Like, bro, I want all my siblings to be rich and successful. It doesn't matter if it's more than me, less than me, whatever. I think being a good family member is praying for each other's wins, not preying on each other's downfalls. Like, you can all be successful together. There doesn't have to be a winner of your siblings. I was also flaunting my money by gifting family money when they needed it. My grandfather often said, never loan family money, give it freely if you want to, but you'll destroy relationships when you start asking for repayment. Not a week of Judge Judy reruns goes by without proving that true. So when I could, I gifted my family money when they needed it. Money for car repairs, money to help with my parents' mortgage when my dad was out of work during COVID, money when my brother ran out halfway through his kitchen renovations, and until last night, my parents' internet and Disney Plus bills. But I've now canceled the monthly auto payments. Again, this was me flaunting my success, but they never stopped asking either. My aunt and cousin also said they've heard lots of passive-aggressive comments about me over the years, first from my mother during the first few years after I decided to stay in Portland, and then eventually from my siblings. We're pretty sure my mother slowly poisoned them against me for not moving back home and showing what happens if they ever tried to move away. Someone said this about my mother meeting my girlfriend in my previous post. To be honest, given the context of everything else that's happened, what your mother said here about finally finding someone who can put up with you sounds less like a tongue-in-cheek joke and more like a not-so-subtle barb. In case that was confusing for anyone, I'm guessing there was a comment where OP was explaining something that happened when the mom met the girlfriend, and the mom said, finally finding someone who can put up with you. I mean, I can see that as like a joke. Like, I could totally see Kathy saying that, but not meaning it. But I think this fucking mom means it. I see it now. I laughed it off as just my mom's humor, but I now also see that these passive-aggressive comments to me, to my siblings over the years, was subtle manipulation to turn them against me and for me to learn to accept it. A lot of people suggested this treatment was to get me to move back home and to punish me for leaving, but I'm not going to come home to embrace treatment like this and hope it goes away now that they got their way, especially when it's been too ingrained in them by now. It also explains why for the past few years, almost every conversation is initiated by me. They simply don't like me anymore and don't need me until they need or want something. My cousin also learned from another cousin that my brother shot himself in the foot when he mentioned the engagement party. I wasn't supposed to know at all. The plan was to tell everyone I couldn't make it and hope I'd never find out. My brother told that cousin that I wasn't supposed to find out about it, but after he let it slip, I wouldn't shut up about asking to come. Based on how they've been talking about me for a couple years, lots of extended family thinks I'm some annoying loser who makes my too often visits miserable for my family, and I can't get the hint to fuck off, so I'm finally fucking off. My aunt and mother never really got along. My aunt is my mother's brother's wife, but my aunt said she knew all of this, had my mom's name all over it, and that years of digs, passive-aggressive comments, and full-on aggressive comments have all come to this. She said they're not the same people. I told them that I don't think there's any coming back from this then. My aunt and cousin both mentioned that they never heard my dad say anything bad. So my aunt is going to have my uncle talk to my dad man to man to see if he can find out what the hell is going on. I thanked my aunt and cousin and reminded them they are pretty much the only family I have left, and I don't plan on losing touch with them. My aunt even mentioned that they haven't gone camping in years and asked if there was any nice places around Portland. It's too far to drive to go camping, but it means they may visit sometime. They also said they're going to try to correct info about me with extended family members, but I told them not to bother. They've already chosen to believe it. But for now, my immediate family are cut off. I blocked them on my phone and social media. No more free handouts when they need money. No more wasting money to go to Phoenix, fucking Arizona 10 times a year just to be roasted by the sun and family members. No more punching bag. I mean, we got the good ending, chat. At least the best ending for OP. I think OP's making the right decisions here. This is not a family that you want to keep giving the time of day, especially if they're just so unbelievably disrespecting you. Like, in a lot of ways, y'all, the mom is the puppet here. She is curating the exact family that she wants to move around like puppets, and OP is just the only family member that she hasn't been able to be the puppet master of. Yeah, that's not anything that you want to fucking deal with, bro. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my husband for saying I baby trapped him? To put it bluntly, me and my husband had a surprise baby while we were young. I was on long-term birth control at the time, implant in my arm, and had to have it removed after we found out I was pregnant. Last week, we were out for dinner with friends and he was making jokes and slipped in about how he thinks I baby trapped him. No reason for it, nothing to back up this crazy accusation, never mentioned it before. But I guess drunk words are sober thoughts? Our friends obviously looked a bit shocked and uncomfortable, especially when they saw my face. I asked my husband what the heck he was on about, and he was saying how it was weird that we'd been sleeping together for 4 years, and then I randomly got pregnant. I responded by asking him a flurry of questions like, oh, did I baby trap you for your money? He and his family were broke, mine is well off. That's so funny. Oh, you're gonna accuse me of baby trapping you in front of our friends? I'm gonna call you fucking broke boy. Bravo. Just bravo. That's great. I love that. Good for her. And did I baby trap you for your house? We lived in one of my parents' properties at the time. Did I baby trap you for your cars? He didn't have a license at that point. Oh my God. He didn't respond, and then our friends changed the subject. He's been giving me basically the silent treatment ever since. Only one word answers and only when I speak to him. What a little bitch. Bro, you started it. OP finished it and finished you, and now you're gonna act like a baby back bitch about it? Also, how stupid is it to be like, oh yeah, you baby trapped me, even though you had a literal implant in your arm? The lack of logic there is just breaking my entire brain. If you really think that she baby trapped you when she had an implant in your arm, you're fucking stupid. Like, what do you mean? Do these men know how these implants work? Does he think that she cut open her arm, took the implant out, got pregnant, put it back in? Come on. I know men are stupid, but you can't be that dumb. All right, there's no excuse for being that brain dead. By the way, since having our first, we've been married for 3 years, bought a house with my deposit, and had 2 more children. This completely caught me by surprise, but he really seems quite upset by this. I know it was cruel to embarrass him, but a common phrase in my area is, don't dish it out if you can't take it. No, exactly. If you're gonna fire off, you can't be shocked and appalled when someone returns fire. Edit, we are 25. We have been together for 10 years and married for 3. We had our first when we were 19. Our relationship has been happy and healthy. I absolutely adore our family of 5 plus 2 fur babies, and we have supported each other through major life events over the past decade. The friends we were with are relatively new ones and are obviously not going to know about our first child's surprise conception. I'm 100% sure my husband doesn't genuinely think I baby trapped him. I think it was just a very poor joke where I was the punchline and I opened my mouth before I had time to think. Y'all, I think OP's taking too much accountability here. Cause like, yes, maybe he was joking and you like fired off because that joke offended you. But to me, y'all, it's the husband's reaction after the fact. Like if you make a joke that hurts your partner and then your partner lays the facts out and fucking claps back at you, the answer isn't to give them the silent treatment. The answer is to be, oh, I clearly struck a nerve. I am so sorry. I meant this completely as a joke. I don't think you actually baby trapped me. I apologize. That is my fault. But honestly, y'all, he's acting like a fucking immature bitch right now. Don't get me wrong. Like, do I think there is a possibility that he was joking and maybe OP just had an over-the-top reaction? Yeah. But OP's reaction is very valid to being accused of baby trapping someone. I think she's letting the husband off the hook. Also, now that I know that they are younger, like, bro, you and your husband have been still progressing to becoming adults adults together. How do you know that this man didn't fall down the Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, Andrew Tater Tot fucking rabbit hole? Like, I don't know. I think OP needs to be more mad and less like, oh, I opened my mouth before I had time to think. No, bro, he opened his mouth before he had time to think. Okay, there is a line here that says, I have apologized for embarrassing him with my response, and he has, of course, apologized for the inappropriate joke and has clarified to our friends. I don't think OP should have apologized, bro. I think that's a fuck around and find out. Like, oh, you want to make a claim that I baby trapped you? I'm gonna give the counter argument of all the reasons why I wouldn't have baby trapped you. I don't think OP should have apologized. You're not holding him accountable enough. Like, he needs to know that he's the only one that fucked up in this situation. I actually don't think OP fucked up. I think they reacted how anybody would react being accused by their longtime partner of baby trapping them. I can't believe, bro, the arm implant? Like, Chad, this might be a really stupid question. You can't like turn that shit on and off, right? I don't think so. Maybe that is a thing, but I've never heard of that, right? Remote controlled birth controls. Well, guys, I really don't know how this shit works. I'm at my core a dumb man. I know a little bit. Like, I'm pretty sure you can't turn that shit on and off, but like, I mean, that'd be crazy if you could. Bluetooth birth control isn't connecting. Guys, be nice to me, okay? What happened to y'all complimenting my haircut, okay? Can we go back to that? Please, please, please. Sorry, babe, we can't have sex. The Wi-Fi is down. Don't make fun of me, okay? I don't have vagina. I don't know. I've never had to do this. Oh, no. I'm not gonna live this one down, am I? I am just a man, Raya. Chat blaming me for being but a wee dumb man. She's sorry for embarrassing him? I don't think she should be sorry for that. That should be more of a, oh, I embarrassed you and you deserve that because he embarrassed her. That embarrassment wouldn't have happened if that husband would have just shut the fuck up. Listen, if you let out the can of worms, don't be mad when the can of worms create a mess. That's how I look at it, bro. It's not the can of worms fault. It's the fucking person who opened it. Am I the a-hole for putting a stop to my 12-year-old daughter's period party? Let me set the stage. My wife and I, 43 male, 42 female, have 2 daughters, 7 years apart. 19-year-old was in college at a different state when this happened. Girls are very different. 19-year-old is outgoing, even extroverted, loves meeting new people, trying new things, etc. 12-year-old is shy, a homebody, finds things she's comfortable with, and sticks with them. In fairness, the 19-year-old was kind of like this until she was 16 or so. Maybe it's genetic. A couple months ago, 12-year-old comes to me in my office home, obviously upset, stammers a bit, and then manages to tell me that she just got her first period. I play the supportive dad, comfort her, and get her a box of sanitary pads my wife had bought earlier in the year, guessing this was going to happen sooner or later, and go over the instructions with her. She goes into her bathroom, does what she has to do, thanks me for my help. I got her some ice cream and Midol, told her there was nothing to be embarrassed about, and she could always come to me for anything. Okay, I mean, so far, W dad, that's how you handle that situation. We've definitely had dads who don't handle that situation very well. Wife gets home later that day. 12-year-old tells her what happened. Wife starts crying. My little girl is growing up, etc. Then asks who should be invited to the period party, which I only knew of from listening to Bert Kreischer. If they were a thing when our 19-year-old started, she never asked for one. 12-year-old immediately closes off. She says she doesn't want a period party and she doesn't want anyone to know. Wife tries to talk to her some more, but 12-year-old ignores her and goes to her room. Wife tries to enlist my aid in changing her mind, but I tell her she said she didn't want one. Don't worry about it. Okay, so am I going to have to Google what a period party is, chat? I genuinely don't know what it is. Is it literally what it sounds like? Like, my daughter had a period. Let's go celebrate it and tell everybody about my child bleeding from her vagina. Is that literally what it's gonna be? It's just a celebration for getting your period? That's crazy. I don't know, y'all. I've never had a period, but it doesn't really sound like much to celebrate. Unless you were worried that you were pregnant. That's the only time it's worth celebrating a period, chat. Congrats, you're gonna feel immense pain in your uterus at least once a month until you go through menopause at like 50 or 60. That doesn't sound like anything to celebrate. That sounds awful. It's more of a celebration of growing up. I mean, that sucks too. Growing up blows, chat. And these period parties are like a normal thing. Like, I've never heard of this shit. Honestly, y'all, it sounds like some dumb white person shit. Only white people would be like, you know what we're gonna fucking celebrate? Periods. Is there a guy version where we're like, Dad, I got my first boner. Hey, yo, guys, come on over for my son's boner party. We're celebrating him getting bricked up at the age of 11. Like, what? No fucking way. I know a boner and a period aren't the same thing, chat, but it's the only thing I can think of. 2 days later, I get home from running errands, and before I can even make it to the stairs, 12-year-old runs up to me and asks if she can do her homework in my office. I'm confused, but say sure, and she bolts upstairs. At this point, I started to suspect what was going on and walked into the living room to find that my wife had not only decorated the living room like something which wouldn't have looked out of place on my super sweet 16, but there were several family friends, all women, and a few I recognize as neighborhood moms. I beckon my wife into the hall. She asks where our 12-year-old is, and I tell her she wanted to do homework in my office. She rolls her eyes and starts to move past me, but I stepped in front of her. OP says, "What are you doing?" to the wife. The wife responds, "Going to get the 12-year-old. It's her party." OP, she told you specifically she didn't want one of these. Wife, oh, she didn't mean that. This is an important time for a girl. She needs to know not to be ashamed of her body. OP, she's not. I already explained things to her. She just doesn't want to talk about it more. Wife, I don't expect you to understand. This is just for women. She actually tried to push past me, but I stepped into the doorway and completely blocked her. Wife says to OP, "What's wrong with you?" OP, what's wrong with you? You know how shy our 12-year-old is. You knew she didn't want you doing something like this, and you did it anyway. OP's wife, I told you it's for her own good. We can't let her grow up with a negative attitude towards something so natural. Ah, yes, and the best way to help her grow up without a negative attitude towards something is by publicly humiliating her and forcing her to do something that she's repeatedly told you she doesn't want to do. Ah, yes, that's for her own good. That's how we're gonna really teach her that she doesn't need to be ashamed of something so natural. Parent logic will never make sense to me sometimes. I feel like parents have kids and any logical thought just goes out the window. OP replied to that saying, "And we're not. I told you, she knows what's going on. She's getting a handle on it. She just doesn't want to talk about it with anyone else for right now." The wife replied, "Well, it wasn't your business to tell her about it anyway." OP, you were at work. Was I supposed to ignore her for 4 hours until you got home? The wife, you could have called me. I would have come home. OP, it still would have taken you an hour. She was upset. I knew what was going on. I talked her through it. The wife, you don't know anything about it. It's never happened to you. At this point, I gave up. I pointed out to my wife, no, I've never had a period, but I had 3 older sisters and a live-in girlfriend before my wife and I met. Plus, we've been married almost 21 years. I'm pretty well versed. She again tries to move past me, but I don't move. OP, no, our 12-year-old doesn't want this. I'm not letting you make her do it. Wife replied, fine, have it your way. She goes back to the living room and tells the other ladies the period party is off because I'm being a jackass. I lose it. Follow her in and let the women know calmly but in no uncertain terms that I appreciate what they wanted to do. But my 12-year-old made it explicitly clear that she did not want this party, and my wife is trying to pressure her into it. Several of the moms frowned at her. My wife starts to backpedal, talking about how she didn't think the 12-year-old was being serious, but I ignore her and begin taking down the decorations. Everyone clears out shortly, and once the coast is clear, 12-year-old comes back downstairs. My wife gives her, in my opinion, a half-assed apology. Again, saying she didn't think 12-year-old was being serious, but our 12-year-old also ignores her and just starts doing her homework in her usual place at the table. My wife was pissed at me for a week, claiming I undermined her authority as a parent. Apparently by not helping her force our daughter into doing something she didn't want to do, and made her look bad in front of the neighborhood moms by telling them she'd been doing this against our daughter's wishes. So am I the a-hole? Yeah, I mean, not the a-hole. I think the 12-year-old's reaction tells you everything that you need to know. When the 12-year-old is more mature than the mom is in this situation about everything that's going on, that's a red flag. I hate this shit. The undermining her authority as a parent. Like, just because you're a parent doesn't mean that everything you say has authority. Like, there are times when parents are just dead ass wrong. That stupid shit that's like, because I told you so, is so dumb. Like, that doesn't teach anybody anything. And if anything, if you are trying to parent where it's like, oh, well, my authority is the word. My authority is the only authority that matters, even if it doesn't make sense. You're basically teaching your child to not think for themselves and be a drone. Is that really a child that you want to raise? Do you really want to raise a child that just goes along with whatever anybody tells them? Because that puts them in extremely dangerous situations. That puts them in shitty marriages. That puts them in shitty jobs. That can open up a whole can of worms of other situations where that shit is not okay. It's just a stupid parenting mindset. If you're a parent right now and your way to parent is by authority, whatever I say goes, I'm not going to explain to you my reasoning, or I'm not going to hear your side because I'm the parent and what I say goes, you're probably a dog shit parent. I'll put money on that shit. Mom clearly has something she hasn't unpacked in therapy. That's probably a good point. I think there is something as well about the mom feeling feeling like this was her moment with her kid that got robbed from her, like teaching the kid what to do on their period, which, like, I don't know, I kind of understand that, but like, I don't think it gives you an excuse to cross your child's boundaries, treat your child like shit, and treat your partner like shit. I can't speak on it too much because I'm a dude, but I feel like it's like, hey, as long as you have somebody to teach you about your period, you're good to go. In cultures, a period party is a normal thing. What culture is that? To me, I don't know if this is the origins of the period party, but if I had to put any money on it, I would say it was probably an old culture where it was advertising, hey, my child is available to be like arranged marriage with somebody or something like that. Hey, my daughter got her period. She can now have your babies. Like, I feel like that's what it stems from. So OP left a little update in the comments here. Oh, and it's a two-parter. Okay. I'm not going to divorce my wife or anything like that. She's an incredible woman, and as corny as it sounds, my one true love. She's been an amazing mom, never done anything like this before, wasn't planning on posting it to social media. She barely even uses Facebook. She just made a misstep here for reasons which I will get into shortly. Yeah, don't get me wrong, like, it was a fucky wucky, but I don't know, like, I wasn't saying you should divorce her. I just think it's like more of a red flag of like, if this is how she continues to try to raise her children vis-a-vis like forcing them to do stuff that they've said explicitly they don't want to do, that is something where if that behavior continues or that's a pattern, then I think it's divorce worthy. But I think, like everybody in chat was saying, I think there's something deeper here where she feels like robbed of the experience or something like that. Or maybe like her friend had a period party for her daughter and she feels like she needs to compete with that friend or something like that. I don't know. Mothers get really dumb when it comes to their kids. Like, I love Kathy, but sometimes Kathy be a little dumb when it comes to her kids. And that's okay. A lot of the times it's because like they care about you so much. I can't respond to every comment, but I'll expand on some which caught my attention. My 12-year-old did in fact get the talk from wife when she turned 12. So she knew what was happening, but it was still something she hadn't experienced before, so it threw her off a little. I emailed my two closest sisters, and they both said, in their opinions, her reaction was normal. As one of them put it, even at best, it can be a shock, regardless of whether or not you're prepared for it, because it just happens. And even if you felt PMS-style symptoms without ever having felt them before, you might not guess what they are until afterward. No, I did not notice the decorations being put up. I had to go out and run some errands related to my work. I was gone about 3 to 4 hours, more than enough time for wife to decorate. Before we had kids, wife and I agreed we would treat boys or girls the same when it came to bodily functions, i.e. we'd make sure boys would be comfortable going to her with questions or problems if I wasn't around, and vice versa. And over the years, we would keep up with the age-appropriate literature so we'd be equally informed. Just so happened we only had girls. Around 10 or so, when they started wanting more detailed explanations of where babies come from and such, we always conducted such conversations as a team, making it clear to each of them they could count on either of us. That being said, there have been some things which I never took part in. For example, the 19-year-old never asked me to take her bra shopping. That was all the wife. She did, however, occasionally ask me to pick up tampons or such in the years before she went to college. No, our 12-year-old did not wait to tell me. It happened right after she got home from school on a half day. Wife works 10-hour shifts, so she wouldn't have been there, as I said in my original post, for another 4 hours. 12-year-old has always been closer to wife than me. 19-year-old was closer to me than wife, but I was who was available. I'm sure that if we'd both been around, 12-year-old would have gone to her mom. I wasn't trying to claim the dialogue was verbatim what we said. My memory isn't that good, but the general tone is there, and some of it I did in fact remember word for word. So after a few days, things around the house went back to normal. Wife cooled off, 12-year-old began talking to her again, and they didn't appear to have any issues, except that our 12-year-old began coming to me more often about things instead of her mom. Wife obviously noticed, as they'd been very close before this, and was hurt, but said nothing. I guess she figured she deserved it. Finally, one day after I got home from taking our 12-year-old to school, my wife asked if the 12-year-old was still angry with her. I said, I don't think so. And wife just kind of deflated. She looked so miserable that I actually got worried and asked if she was still angry. Wife said no, then admitted that she'd fucked up and gotten too into the concept of what others here have called menstruation celebration, which is a great phrase, it even rhymes. Menstruation sounds painful and awful. I don't know why you would celebrate it, but like, sure. It's more maybe about the celebration of like becoming a woman, but I feel like there's a way to do that without crossing boundaries, putting someone in a situation that might seem like public humiliation to them. Menstruation celebration. It does rhyme really well. She said she's been so focused on making sure our 12-year-old had a positive experience that she brushed aside her reluctance to take part. And in my wife's defense, our 12-year-old regularly does this. She'll say she isn't looking forward to doing something, but if she pushes past her shyness and takes part, nearly always has a good time. So wife had thought this was just another example of our 12-year-old doing that and didn't take it seriously. Okay, I could see that. I mean, obviously it could just be an excuse, but if all of that is true, I can understand how you make that fucky wucky. I just think the difference is, yes, talk to your husband about this, but I think the real person you should be apologizing to and talking to is your daughter that you actually made the fucky wucky to. Then wife said something which threw me for a loop. She asked me if I thought our 12-year-old hated her now. I was stunned and immediately replied, of course not. She's just... And then I kind of trailed off because I didn't know what to say. Upset was what I finally settled on. Wife was quiet, then I asked her why she'd been so insistent, since she hadn't tried to do this for our 19-year-old. No drama there. 19-year-old got hers at 13 while they were out shopping. It was handled before they even left the mall. She said when our 19-year-old started, it was just such a busy day that she didn't really have any time to think about it beyond, quick, let's get to the bathroom so I can help. And it wasn't until after this that the wife really thought about her own first period, which basically consisted of her being told virtually nothing beforehand by her emotionally manipulative mother. They've been no contact for 15 years. Okay, there's maybe the unpacked trauma that some people in chat mentioned. Barely being 12 when it happened, and when she did go to her mom, only being handed a box of pads and warned not to get pregnant. Nothing more was ever said about it between them. My wife had to learn nearly everything from a friend's mother. Yeah. That old woman is a piece of work. Okay, so now I feel a little bit bad because I think y'all are right. I think there's some unpacked trauma that this wife is pushing onto her kid. She might feel like her mom so severely under-supported her during her period. This wife feels like she almost needs to like over-support. So I kind of understand where OP's coming from. Like once you really break it down, it does sound like there was just a lot of background traumas that were at play here. Wife was determined she wouldn't behave like that to her 12-year-old when it happened, but as events show, she basically went too far in another direction. Then she asked me what I thought she could do to fix this. I told her the truth. Our 12-year-old wasn't going to feel comfortable confiding in her again for a while, but if she really wanted to apologize, she should tell the 12-year-old what she just told me. Yeah, I think that's the best move. Don't get me wrong, y'all. Like, I understand now more of why the wife did it, but the wife still fucked up. Still needs to be held accountable, still needs to apologize, and I think it's worse if she just lets it linger. Like, if she goes up to the 12-year-old, sincerely apologizes, explains why, and makes sure to put in checks and balances that it won't happen again, there's coming back from this. And so she did. Wife went to pick up 12-year-old from school, and when they got home, I saw they'd both been crying, but also seemed happier. Turns out I wasn't quite right, and 12-year-old had still been harboring some resentment toward our wife for trying to push her into the period party. But after hearing wife's story, 12-year-old decided to forgive her, only asking that wife promise not to do something like that again. And 2 months later, this happened in May, things between them seem to be back to normal. Maybe not the most exciting resolution, but I don't think our 12-year-old is going to hold a grudge over this or has permanently damaged their relationship. Oh, that's kind of a nice ending. We love somebody who can at least take accountability. I think where this goes to no return forgiveness is if somebody like dies on a hill that they clearly shouldn't die on. But it's nice that the wife was able to talk about this with the husband. They came up with a solution together and then the wife followed through. You know what? I have to applaud that. That's good parenting. You're never going to be a perfect parent, but I think what you do when you're not a perfect parent defines how good of a parent you actually are. And like, good on this wife for nutting up and taking accountability of what they did and then actually apologizing, following through with it. Ooh, the wife should definitely go to therapy to unpack. I agree with that, actually, Bouncy Ball. It does seem like there's a little bit of unresolved trauma with the mother, which is fine. Like, I don't think you'll ever be completely resolved there, but it might be good to talk that through with somebody who's disconnected from the situation. Am I the a-hole for telling a guy to shut up during a job interview? Really quick, if you're enjoying this podcast and you can think of somebody who would also enjoy these Reddit stories, it would mean the world to me if you shared this podcast with that person. That is by far the best way you can help me grow this podcast, is by your word of mouth, and I would greatly appreciate it. Along with that, if you guys ever share a story of you listening to the podcast or even just a screenshot and you tag me on Instagram, on Snapchat, I always reply, interact, and repost those to my stories. My Instagram and Snapchat handles are below. As always, not required, but definitely appreciated. I was interviewing this guy for a very good software engineering position. He passed the first round, and me and everyone involved in the second round really liked his resume and experience. On paper, he had everything we were looking for, and honestly, this looked like a life-changing opportunity for him. Then he shows up, very serious, and not smiling at all. I'm used to that in tech interviews, and I understand it can be an intimidating environment. We did a round of introductions, and then he opened the interview by saying, "Let me tell you a little bit about myself." We said, "Okay, go for it." He started talking and talking about his personal and professional background. After about 3 minutes, I jumped in to ask a follow-up question based on something he mentioned. He replied, "I will answer, just give me a moment," and continued talking. A coworker jumped in with another question, and he said the same thing to her. At this point, we were kind of looking at each other, but decided to let him continue and give him the benefit of the doubt. But after more than 5 minutes, I jumped in again with another question. I had to talk over him to do it. He finally paused and answered, but in a long-winded way that he ended up veering into another topic. Okay, OP did not specify if they were a woman or a man, so I'm very curious. My coworker asked another question and the same thing happened. At this point, I was ready to end the interview. I tried to politely wrap it up several times, but he was unable to read the room and just kept talking. I finally raised my voice slightly and said something like, "Thank you very much for sharing your background. In the interest of time, I'd like to ask if you have any questions for us. This is standard protocol and helps us prepare answers for future interviews." He asked a question about the team. As I was answering, he raised his finger and interrupted to talk more about his background. I let it go. Then he asked another question, which my coworker started to answer, but again, he spoke over her to talk about himself. I tried once more to interrupt politely, but he kept talking. At that point, I was done. I said, "John, you really have to shut up and listen." He was surprised, as was my coworker, but he finally stopped talking. I continued, "You walked into this room with a 99% chance of getting the job. Now that chance is 0. The only reason is because in less than 15 minutes, you've demonstrated that you don't have the capacity to listen at all. So I'm telling you now, you're not getting the job. But if you take anything away from this interview, let it be this. No matter how good you are technically, if you can't listen, you'll never excel in this career." He apologized and said, "Can we start again?" I replied, "You had your chance. Best of luck in your future interviews. Make sure you listen." Looking back, I know I could have handled that differently, but I still feel bad for the guy. Honestly, bro, I think OP did him a solid. Maybe using the terms "shut up" is not like the most professional, but also someone should have told this guy this. In my opinion, y'all, if someone has a major issue with them, exhibit A, they go into an interview and won't shut the fuck up. Sometimes the best thing you could do is just tell them straight up, because people have probably been sugarcoating it for him or just like letting it slide in the past. And sometimes, bro, you just gotta rip the band-aid off. And that's what OP did. OP was like, "Yeah, you ruined this. You yourself. Absolutely nobody else did anything to ruin this except for you. I don't know what to tell you." Don't get me wrong. I think you should have maybe kept it a little bit more professional, but I think in the long run, if dude takes this and is like, "Oh shit, I need to learn how to shut the fuck up and listen," like at least someone told him, you know, this guy should be writing you a thank you card. I'm also very curious if OP is a woman or a man. The way OP is typing, it seems more like a man, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was like "Oh, I'm a software engineer in tech. I know everything. I'm smarter than every woman that ever womaned." I wouldn't be surprised. I agree, Lee. Sometimes you just gotta be blunt. Like, you just gotta be like, "Dude, you suck.